You are a young person. You open social media and all you hear is everybody's cheating. Women TikToks and Reels are full of how every man is cheating. Men creators are saying how disloyal modern women are. Then comes anecdotal data. Friends who got cheated on. Ask any girl and she has plenty of girlfriends who got cheated on. Ask any guy. The same story about men. In this video, we are going to answer how to game this problem in the smartest way possible. The first thing we're going to assess is how bad is the situation really? What does the scientific data say? In the domain of cheating, there are a few major problems with scientific data. First, it is based on self-reported surveys. Basically, the person is required to tell on themselves. Even though people disclose cheating behaviors far more when the surveys are anonymous, it is still a problem because you cannot verify whether a lot of people lied or not. 2. The sample sizes can be geographically very different. People who live in geographical pockets that culturally have very high sexual openness, high acceptance, lack of shame, high personal freedom, high autonomy, high population, high young population, and high population diversity can show very different data about sexual behaviors from a place that is very different in terms of cultural values, population sizes, and such things. 3. One of the most important things is, what are the researchers even testing when they say cheating? How are they defining cheating? In case cheating is only defined as penetrative sex, then a person who emotionally cheated on their partner, lied on several locations, probably made out with somebody, has had online sex chats, had oral sex, visits scam sites, pays OnlyFans models, and several things will not be considered cheating according to the study design. But if you ask their partner, pretty sure they will say that this is cheating. So how the scientific study defines cheating matters, and the way they define it changes the percentages. In a meta-analysis about how cheating is defined, they found that EDB, which means extra-dyadic behaviors, in the nationally representative random samples ranged up to 37.5%, whereas in community and college samples, the overall rate appeared to be much higher with a range of 16.5% to 85.5%. 85.5% of people in one college sample were doing something that will be considered cheating. Now, to be fair about the 85.5% number, it is a student sample which cannot be generalized to a whole population. This number could have also been obtained from a very unique sample size which cannot be replicated, or maybe it can. Somebody needs to find out. The point is, when they define cheating broadly, the percentages went up. Let's talk about humans in modern times. Modern times involves the internet. Internet has all kinds of advice for people, including very toxic advice. Toxic advice can be broadly categorized into two types. 1. Self-aware, psychopathic, selfish advice that tells people to hurt, harm, exploit, dehumanize, manipulate, and use other humans for sexual gains. And 2. Highly impulsive, reasoning-averse, promiscuous, short-term pleasure-focused advice that isn't well thought out and wants you to ignore thinking too. This advice can do hurt, harm, dehumanize, and use people in an implicit, unsaid, indirect way. The nature of both advice is essentially self-centered, selfish, short-term, irrational, unscientific, unwise, unethical, and not evidence-based. Just because a lot of toxic advice is popular does not mean a lot of people follow it. This is how you interpret the popularity of toxic advice within the context of human beings. When you see a huge following to selfish advice, such as cheat, have multiple partners, lie, manipulate, use people, screw your husband, or have a side chick, a lot of people who respond positively to that advice are people who wanted to do that in the first place. Birds of a feather. So that sample is not generalizable. It does not speak of humans in general, because what you are essentially looking at is all the people who want to cheat gather at a place at once. On top of that, there is without a doubt a percentage of people who are confused, inexperienced, and highly attracted to that dark advice. Humans learn from outcomes and update their wants. So there are a lot of people who try out these lifestyles, feel guilty, empty, hurt, and then move away. So a lot of dark advice invites people, attracts people with dark traits, as well as very naive, inexperienced people who confuse exploiting and manipulating with power and competence. The point is, don't confuse numbers with this is the world now. Let's look at what the markers of cheating are according to psychological research. Researchers trying to build a model of what predicts cheating came to these markers. Nationally representative survey data show higher likelihood of sexual infidelity amongst those with stronger sexual interests, more permissive sexual values, lower subjective satisfaction with their union, weaker network ties to partner, and greater sexual opportunities. If you break this down, this is high sociosexual desire, which means wanting to have sex with multiple people, high sexual openness, high interest in sex coupled with relationship problems, and high sexual opportunities, which means morally, geographically, and environmentally, a person is surrounded with high number of people with whom cheating is possible. In qualitative research, they have found that religion tends to support fidelity to marital vows, that high religiosity is linked with higher levels of marital stability and satisfaction. Another research strongly shows that moral values have a strong impact on viewing infidelity. infidelity. The 4 moral reasons people had for not cheating were heeding rules, decency, loyalty, and reciprocal ownership. You are mine, I am yours. People who scored higher on these values exhibited moral disgust, anger, and contempt toward cheaters and compassion toward their spouses. One simple thing we can take from this is look for people with higher, stronger moral values. But that is only a tiny piece of the puzzle. If you want to game this, if you wish to be really clever about this, then this is the whole game. First, the rules. Rule number 1, rejection is key. Too many humans on the planet, which means all kinds of people exist with all kinds of wants. There are people who want what you want too. The only way to find that person is by rejecting what you don't want. Rule number 2, clarity is key. Rational thinking is you need to figure out what your needs and wants are based on your personality, motivations, desires, current situation, and current goals. Then cross-check those wants with reasoning and empirical evidence. Just because you want something doesn't mean it is good for you. Rule number 3, watch your desire. Most people are so consumed by desires that they forget where it is taking them. Be highly skeptical and observant of where your desire will take you. Rule number 4, happiness is not the goal. Happiness will be the byproduct of living a meaningful life. You don't chase happiness at all. The question does not occur in your mind, what will make me happy? For many people, the answer could be having sex with your neighbor. The question is, what are the activities that I deeply, intrinsically, and spiritually enjoy? And the answer could be doing absolutely nothing. Just lying down in a field and looking at the sky and getting lost in non-conscious, uncontrolled, unguided thinking. For somebody, it could be cycling, going to the gym, doing CrossFit, reading, solving something, finding something, learning something. Rule number 5, ethics is key. Rational thinking entails ethical behavior. Even if you are a highly selfish person, harming humans is not good for you, because by doing that, you make a lot of enemies. People who love you will stop trusting you when they see that you treat others like crap. You will end up making a few persistent, strong enemies who will not give up until they destroy you. So, first model, look for evidence first, fall in love later. Before falling in love, first figure out who they are and what they want. Love should be a confirmation of a union that makes sense and will grow. Seeing somebody attractive and then claiming that attraction is love and forming a relationship based on mutual attraction is an exercise of structured lust. Attraction will blind you. Rationality will open your eyes. This person is very beautiful. Great. Evidence first, then love. Why? Because people say they want something and then do the complete opposite or contrary all the time. What people claim and what they desire can be 2 different things. Therefore, claims are a hypothesis. Hypothesis should be supported by evidence. When you hear a girl or a guy say they want this or that, those are mere claims. How they behave, what they believe in, talk about, watch, enjoy, and what they have done in their past, that's real data. If somebody has cheated in their last relationship, then there has to be very good reasoning, evidence-based explanation about why they're not going to do this in this relationship and the future. If somebody has had multiple partners before at the same time, how did that social-sexual behavior and desire discontinue in the future? Reasoning and evidence. If in the last 5 years all a guy did was had casual sex, which could mean high sensation seeking, high impulsivity, increased sexual objectification of others, high novelty seeking, short-term pleasure, what is the assurance and possibility that all of this or none of this will return in the next 5 years? What is the evidence behind this unbreakable shift? People can change, but make sure to verify that they have. Rule number 1, the ability to walk away. Rejection is key. One of the reasons why a lot of people get effed over is over a long period of time, they did see details, data, evidence, values, desires that pointed to the contrary. Going back to the psychological model, stronger sexual interests, more permissive sexual values, they are fantasizing about other people, they are flirting with others, they frequently talk about sex is just bodily fun, separated from love, they reduce personal responsibility from sexual behavior. One should have as much sex in life as possible with as many people as they can, but at the same time, you both agreed to be in a monogamous relationship for some reason. In these moments, the brain does sound an alarm, but you're either too smitten, too attracted to this person, or don't want to sound uncool like you are sexually restrictive or repressed, or you have also lived that life before, so you think you're both on the same page. A lot of people ignore the signs that were clearly there because of competing biases, such as you are attracted to that person way too strongly. You don't want them to go, or your ego wants to own them. Your logical brain sees that this is too stressful, but your ego refuses to let them go. Therefore, the model, gather data first, invest or commit later. Proper data gathering does not take more than a few weeks actually. You get data from normal conversations, from their past, from their reasoning, from the absence or presence of evidence behind their claims. If you remove the bias from your eyes of wanting to see them as angels and start to see them as Homo sapiens, put your mental health, peace, compatibility in values, life goals, or at the very least, concepts of loyalty on top, then you'd be able to let go of people who are on different life paths without judgment, because even judgment is a waste of time. But the biggest waste of time is trying to change somebody. I will fix him or I'll fix her. High chances that it isn't going to happen in the long term. Short term, maybe, which will give you the hope that you should keep going. The second model, rationality over lust. How much does sex and lust control you? The simple question is, can sex be unimportant to you? Not because you're not getting any, so you say it is unimportant as a coping mechanism, but because of all the things you've realized that are important to you, sex places pretty low. This does not mean you don't want sex, or sex has to be degraded, or your sexual needs have to be demonized. Sex remains sex, but in the grand picture of your life as a whole, you have learned that your decision-making has to be motivated by rationality, not lust or sex. You can love sex, but have the ability to not be controlled by it. Your decision-making is controlled by factors such as inner peace, maintenance of stability, and rationality. Sex and lust exist within their context. The ability to walk away exists when lust and sexual attraction can be controlled by bigger, more important factors. If you are crazily sexually attracted to someone and they show all the patterns and signs of being a mismatch, then your brain might not automatically act on that information unless you have consciously trained yourself to act on rationally obtained data. People who jump headfirst into disasters find out that this is a disaster pretty early on, but they don't have self-control mechanisms. Their desires control their actions. So how do you not get controlled by your desires? The most simple way is by stacking your life with enough activities that give you meaning, purpose, satisfaction, and peace. Once you have tasted order, peace, and satisfaction, you will be overly protective of maintaining that state because it is composed of unbelievably high rewards, amazing mental health, goal achievements, and high self-belief. You will recognize that uncontrolled sexual desire will destroy this peace. Therefore, rationality becomes the tool that controls it within the context. Sex is not reduced, but maintained within the limits that do not harm the peace in life. According to psychological research on self-control, applying self-control on your desires becomes easier when you have long-term goals. They're very clear in your mind, they mean a lot to you, and you know how to achieve them. This study found that stronger value signaling in the ventromedial prefrontal cortex during thinking about the long-term consequences was associated with high self-control success. When you have clear long-term goals that mean something to you and you want to achieve them, your brain thinks about which actions will bring which consequences and protects your goal by applying self-control on desires that will wreck them. Therefore, self-control is connected to goal-directed behavior. In case you don't have long-term goals, here are research-backed, sensible long-term goals to have. My long-term goals can be inner peace, financial stability, life satisfaction, and meaningful life, a life of purpose. Another question you can ask yourself is, what is my mental model of dating right now? How intricately connected it is to long-term goals? What is your capacity to say no? If you increase the attractiveness, does the capacity to say no remain unchanged, or it goes down with the rising hotness of the person? If lust can switch off your rational thinking, then lust controls your actions. Therefore, being cheated on, personality of the person, who they are, all of this is ignored. Fulfilling lust, living in fear because the logical brain does see problems, creating elaborate strategies to control them, become your life. Choose to bring peace into your life, and chaos will automatically become something you will distance from. You will meet a highly attractive person, but the second you see they're all about bringing chaos, you will move away. Self-control will be applied to protect your peace. Last thing, a lot of people spend way too much time blaming. Blaming has two functions. A societal function in which we as humans condemn and punish unfair practices, so ethical, fair behavior in the society remains. This is well researched. Another function of blaming is victimizing yourself. What that means is you have unconsciously accepted the losing position. So as a coping mechanism, the world has to be wrong to put you there. You blame women, men, looks maxing, technology, Instagram, Snapchat, TV shows. I'm not saying that Snapchat and Instagram have not provided tools for people to cheat much more efficiently. I'm not saying that TV shows don't influence humans. I am saying that when you blame, or complain from the position of a person who has lost, not from a position of strength or wanting social change, then you implicitly accept yourself as a loser, and blaming and complaining are accepted by your mind as the only solutions. There are literal psychologists and scientists who are speaking openly against the ills of social media. That is arguing and complaining rightfully from the position of authority and strength, not as a coping mechanism which implicitly signals that your reality cannot change. Your reality is very much changeable. If you want to game life, then you need to start thinking about your life rationally. Behaving like a loser does not make you a loser, because behavior can be changed. The solution is behavioral change, not wasting your time on sitting online and judging. Here is how you see Instagram and Snapchat used for cheating. Those who want to cheat will use whatever they can. What matters more is that they want to cheat. Avoid these people the second you identify the behavior. Be fully open to rejecting people for the sake of your peace. You cannot change the world. What you can change is your own actions. When you meet people who want to sleep with multiple humans, and if you don't want that, then keep your interactions with them limited to the point where your sex lives do not intersect. 8 billion humans on the planet. You will meet plenty of humans who want different things and who don't know what they want. Not your job. Your life is your job. Save your time. Their lives are their journey. If you're dating somebody and their friend group is all about having casual sex with each other and new people, then that is a data point. There is a high possibility the floating advice this person receives from this group is to partake, cheat, have random sex. Also, you must ask, what is so unique and special about your Homo sapien that they choose to hang around people with high social sexual behavior, but somehow didn't participate, haven't found any of those attractive, haven't been hit on by any of those people, haven't flirted, haven't had conversations filled with high inappropriate sexual undertones and remarks? If your boyfriend is friends with guys who cheat on their partners, go to strip clubs, have high social sexual behavior, then probabilistically speaking, how many sexual environments are his friends exposing him to, and how many times can your boyfriend say no to them? If somebody's exposure is very high, then the statistical likelihood of error making goes high too. Also, isn't it rationally and cognitively better to reduce that exposure instead of using high cognitive energy to make sure you don't cross any line? The same applies to a girlfriend. At what point do the sexual environment and behavior direct toward your partner? Conclusion. You cannot stop somebody from cheating, but you can read it. If you listen and observe, you will notice data that will predict how this person might behave in so-and-so situation around so-and-so people. Data about what they want, what their priorities are, their long-term goals are, what their moral values are, the choices and decisions of their lives. All help with predictions. Data about the human will build a model of how they're going to act. These are called probabilistic predictions. Now, predictions can be wrong. Also, because they are probabilistic, they will be full of doubts. You can clear the doubts by directly discussing those things with them, asking them what they will do if this situation happens or that situation happens. From their answer, you gather more data and direct claims. If their claims contain behaviors that are already against what you want, then there you go. In the case the claims consist of behaviors that you agree with, then in the future, you can always test how they behave with what they claim. And that gives you direct evidence. If they behave as they claimed, you get evidence of claims matching actions. If not, then what they claimed was nonsense. And that is a red flag. Rationality, evidence over feelings.